Is this the best 3 shows we've had going on simultaneously while we've been doing the podcast? Very interesting to see how that subplot develops, because it's not being discussed a lot online. I'm not seeing much about it. Vox Machina, episodes 7, 8, and 9. Can we go back to having, like, insane sexy scenes out of nowhere? Yeah, it may be in Jump, but at least I didn't want to cry at work.
This is probably, by far, MCU terms, but, like, this is one of the most creatively written series. Their one saving character that was somewhat holding it all together as best he could has dipped, and we have no respect for these other characters they've set up, so why would we care about this world they're I think they're suddenly leaving themselves with, like, a bunch of parts and no central character that people are actually enjoying.
They are desperate for Craven to be a success right now. What's up, guys, and welcome back to episode 135 of Cutscene Combos. And because it's such a busy week, we have no character profile again. Just chaos. We've got Penguin episode 5.
Yes.
We've got Vox Machina episodes 7, 8, and 9. We've got Agatha episode 7. We've got our preview for the Friendly Neighbour Hood Spider-Man show. We've got preview for Venom: The Last Dance. And as always, we have the Nerdy News Network stuff. But before all that, Hori, how's your week been? In between the 12 million hours of content we need to consume.
Yeah, and I mean, up until like an hour ago, it was very normal, and then I was an hour early for once. What have I done this week? This week's been weird.
I feel that in my soul.
Yeah, working on potential job things, sending emails and different things. Which is then kind
of lots of feelers.
Yeah, and working on portfolio, which has took a lot of my attention over the weekend.
Yeah.
And then this week just like watching the different shows. We'll get into Vox Machina, but you messaged on Monday that you'd watched the first one.
Yeah.
And
so
I was like,
to find time to watch all this stuff and also make it enjoyable, them coming out in 3 episode blocks, I've been watching them on my lunch breaks on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And it's also kind of a middle finger to like the binging business model. So like, I am not binging.
I couldn't. I usually wait till like Wednesday or Thursday.
So it's fresh.
Yeah, so it's fresh. And you put a message after watching the first one, and I was like, oh, I'm going to have to go watch them now. And I was like, well, I can't stop watching. But we'll get into that later. Other than that, kind of just been doing the usual gaming, still playing Throne of Liberty, though I've slowed down a bit now.
Yeah.
It's at that point where I've hit the end game, so it's like going on doing my daily stuff.
Yeah, it's so funny when a game gets to like end game stuff, you don't feel this like overwhelming, insane drive to like grind it because you're like, I'm already at the end. This is it's like the South Park meme, isn't it? It's like, right, we've been playing for 40 hours. What do we do now? It's like, are you kidding? Now we can finally play the game.
Well, the thing is, it's like I'm still grinding my end game gear, but it's like that is a slow grind in this MMO, and I'm like 100 hours, but it's like I go on that, do a bit of my dailies. Me and my mates started a modded Minecraft server again.
Oh, it's finally happened.
They started playing, and I was like, oh, I'm not that fussed. And then like a week went by, and I was like, oh, okay, actually, I kind of have the. I'm just, what mod pack are you playing? And then I've been playing a new game, a new extraction game called Forever Winter.
Oh, okay.
It is very early access. I would definitely say it still needs a little bit more time in the oven.
In the oven.
But it's a PvE extraction shooter.
So, okay. So there's no PvP at all?
No. So the idea is you go into these maps and there's 2 factions fighting each other, and you're going in trying to grab loot for your little like civilization and get out. And if you can fight stuff, be careful though, because it will absolutely kick your ass. There is giant mechs that walk around.
It's like insanely difficult VE.
If you pick the wrong E to shoot at, it could just be a giant mech that turns around and absolutely lays you down.
Got ya.
It's the concepts and the early stages, it has potential, but yeah, it just things feel a little clunky as they always do in early access games.
Always.
But yeah, keeping an eye on that. But that's been my week. How's your week been?
My week's not been too bad. It's just it's all go at the minute. But I've hit like a weird kind of production bump.
Okay.
Where I'm finding it. I don't want to say easy because it is still obviously requiring a lot of effort. But I'm finding it less stressful to try and find the time to do the things I want to do. Like I'm getting around to reading proper books again, not just comics. I'm finding time to do that. I'm playing games. I've caught up on a lot of my comics. I'm watching stuff that I want to watch, not just stuff that we need to watch. I'm like, I feel like I've kind of got a bit more of a well-rounded stuff going on. Granted, that probably only lasts until a game comes in and just fucking hits me in the face and goes, "I'm all you can think about." But right now, it's working. Before we get into this, I do have a question for you. Is this the best 3 shows we've had going on simultaneously while we've been doing the podcast? We've had a couple of periods of multiple shows going on, and I think there's been like 2 or 3 times we've had 3 shows going on at the same time. I think this might be the best.
It definitely could be the best trio. I'm trying to think what other times we've had. Other times it's been like Invincible with like an MCU one and something else.
So we had Andor and Rings of Power season 1 overlapped. But I don't think there was a third show while that was going on.
Not unless it like
and I also think they kind of sit in like, although they're very different, they sit in the same kind of niche content. Like they're very serious, very grounded shows, despite being fantastical. Like, whereas this is like crime drama, animated fantasy, kooky witches. Like they're like whatever you want, we've got you covered at the minute.
That's true, and I do like. Don't get me wrong, we both enjoyed Rings of Power season 1. But like season 2 has been a lot better, and I wouldn't say season 1 is at the level of any of these. I think it had. It's not as polished as some of the ones at the moment are.
Yes.
Andor was amazing, but yeah, I don't think we've had 3 shows this strong, and like you say, different genres. Maybe was there overlap with the Bear at any point? I'm trying to think. But we didn't really cover the Bear live, did we?
No, because it got dumped on us, didn't it?
Yeah.
It was a dump.
So
which makes it a bit more difficult.
That's the only other time I can think of like a show that is different to what like.
Let us know down below if we've missed out any other like absolute what a time to be alive with these shows going on at the same time, because this is insane caliber of show coming out right now.
Yeah, it really is.
But let's get into it with Penguin episode 5.
Not what I expected to kind of.
No.
We were concerned with. Well, we were intrigued to see how Penguin was going to spin his way out of this.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting him to kind of start going full savage mode with the burning of a certain son and mother.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit. Oh, Penguin will do some real bad shit.
Yeah, well, in the week you sent me the TikTok, didn't you, of that interview from Colin Farrell. And he was saying, I think it'll be hard for anyone to like Penguin by the end of all 8 episodes. And we were like, what does he mean, though? I think we're starting to see what he means.
Yeah, and I've got a feeling he might go after another fan favourite character or 2 as well, which will really put him in some deep doo-doo with fans. But it's phenomenal TV. It's so well written. It's so well thought out.
It's great, like, because obviously we both loved the Batman film.
Yes.
And we loved how it was shot, how it was produced. We loved the world that Matt Reeves had built. Might not be everyone's favourite Batman and Batman world, but that world was so well made
Yeah, it worked for what it was being used for.
Yeah. This show, they've taken that and run with that world.
Absolutely.
And they've found exactly how to make a penguin work in this world that they've built, and they're nailing it. It's honestly, I mean, in my opinion, the best DC TV show we've had in a
long time.
yeah.
I think while a very different show, Smallville is crucially important to Super TV, but definitely for a long in the modern era, this is heads and tails above everything else. It's one of the big perks of HBO caliber TV being available to DC.
Yeah.
I think we're kind of getting to a point with this show where we're starting to see that turn of Penguin where he realizes that he's not quite ready to make the move. So he was playing both sides. He was playing three sides for like the first three episodes, where it's like the Maronis, the Falcons, and himself. And he find it all went a bit wrong, but it's ironically, despite being called the Penguin, he's a bit like a cat. He always lands on his feet. So he's like, right, how are we going to get out of this? He because of the way he's done business, he does have loyal guys. So he's got enough manpower to try and make something work.
Yeah.
As far as he knows, Sophia's not a problem yet. She's going to be, but she's not got enough power to be a problem yet, as far as he knows. So he's like trying to make things happen. But it's incredibly interesting to see the journey that Sophia and Oz go on in this episode of consolidating power, and all of a sudden it goes from being a Maroni and Falcone crime war to being like Oz versus the Giamattis. Oh, what was it? Was it Giamattis?
Gigantos.
Yeah, like it's so funny how that's flipped. And again, it's setting us up in this position for it to end with Oz consolidating all the power in Gotham.
So the name change that Sophia's taken, is that an important name change, or is that...
Not as far as I know. The Falcons have always been the crime family. As far as I know, that isn't like a big wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Right, know what's coming. To the best of my knowledge, I'm not. I'm not a Gotham crime family historian.
Okay. But yeah, this whole... It's funny because it's like, from our perspective watching it, we've obviously seen him juggling and kind of playing both sides, was playing them against each other, seemingly was in some level of control of the situation, was kind of getting away with it. But as everyone knows in these things, it will catch up to you. But rather than it sort of catching up to him and it being the end of Oz, like, he kind of... Well, it's catching up to me, so I'm going to jump in the deep end over here instead and just keep, like, I'm just going to run a bit quicker. And it's like, he turns it, thinks, okay, Sophia's handled the Falcons for me. Cool. I don't have to worry about that now. So that means I can go after the Maronis because there's not, like, I can play off this. Not knowing that that's actually gone wrong. He like he like makes a move because he thinks, oh shit, but he's like getting caught up. So he's like, well, I'll make a move to get ahead. But he kind of half makes the move successfully, which then leaves him in an open position to get caught up again.
He's very much stuck in a reactive loop right now.
Yes.
While everyone else is doing stuff, which just means he's constantly having to react to shit. Which, if it wasn't for like the deep crime drama they're going for, would almost be sitcom levels of fuck, this is going wrong and this is going wrong and this is going wrong.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, you could definitely twist this into like a funny sitcom.
Oh, absolutely. What I'm really curious to see is where we go with their new like mushroom farm, because they are the undertunnels where the Batcave is stationed.
That's what I was trying to work at. That's where he was.
So you've got that entire system of tunnels. The Batcave is within them tunnels somewhere,
but more towards
the center. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because it was under his big.
Because he was in the tower.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see if that was just we've already made it aware that this system exists. and this system would be the perfect place for mushrooms to grow.
Hmm.
Or if there is a little bit of, wouldn't it be really funny if the penguin stumbles into the Batcave? Because it's been a long running joke that villains do occasionally find their way into the Batcave.
I mean, it would be funny if, like, in the next Batman film or something, it's like some younger, like, drug runner for the Penguin. They're using the tunnels to get
They
around.
take a wrong fucking turn.
Takes a wrong turn and just stumbles in, and then it's just the Batman's just there working or something. It's like, I'm just going to back out slowly.
Imagine how terrifying that would be. This man decimated crime. He's an urban myth, realistically, still to a lot of these people. You're running drugs in a tunnel. You take a wrong turn, and you come out where he has like a fucking rocket car, all these fucking weapons, and he just slowly turns and stares at you like that. That's a horror film. You film that from the villain's point of view, and that is a legitimate horror film.
You could also, though, you could flip it of, like, if one of them stumbles across it and sort of, like, finds it secretly, takes that back to Penguin, and it's like, oh, we can now use this. But yeah, they're doing the mushroom setup in the tunnels is such a cool, like, flip that they've ended up back in Crown Point and using that. Now, Squid's got to come and bite them in the ass, right? The way that they had Squid there, and he was like, Vic was scared shitless of him and was hiding, but then, like, right as he goes inside, like, this Squid guy clocks them.
I'm really curious what that's about.
It's got to be a setup. Either something in the sense of, like, he causes them an issue, Penguin maybe kills him, and that really locks Vic in as loyal. Or does Vic end up having to kill him? Or the Maronis and that and Sophia are, like, trying to find word of where they've gone, and he gets wind of it and sells them out.
What I think could be the case is they've set this person up as someone Vic is scared of to be a kind of canary in the coal mine for when Vic starts to become more like Penguin, and he is going to make Squid like a lieutenant, and Squid and his crew are going to be used to sell the drugs.
Ooh.
And it's like Vic's idea, and he goes from being scared of this guy to being this guy's boss to show that Vic is thinking more like a mobster who's just trying to make money.
That's the point, actually, because he mentions that Squid ran the drops, which would mean Penguin would be aware of somewhat.
I would assume so to an extent, but it might be a case of, I know there's a dude in that area, I don't care who it is.
Yeah, I do think their paths are going to cross. It's whether or not, I'm wondering, either, like you say, he's going to be brought in, and that kind of shows Vic going past that point, sort of point of no return, or he's going to sell them out to Sophia because he thinks it's an easy, everyone just wants a quick buck.
Did you see that Twitter greatly enjoyed the canonization of TikTok in Matt Reeves' Batman universe?
Wait, no, I didn't see that.
So obviously in the episode he uses TikTok to find the Maroni's son.
Yeah.
Twitter loved that Matt Reeves' universe has confirmed that TikTok
I didn't even think of that.
Because the implications of TikTok being canon.
Do you know what that is? It's because they're doing such a good job of this not feeling like you're Gotham City, like it's just a mobster sort of TV show. I forget the idea of, like, TikTok being in Gotham and being canonized is like a wild thing.
So one thing that really did make me laugh is, like, imagine there is currently a TikTok person, I don't know a lot about them, called the Rizzler. Imagine your entire city being destroyed by this madman who calls himself the Riddler and creates, like, a very harsh domestic terrorist attack on the city. And then you open TikTok and you see all these trends and memes about the Rizzler. Like the implications of TikTok in these like slightly more
Yeah,
obscure worlds is always hilarious, especially because the way this show is written very much gives it more of like a mid 2000s vibe. And with the
yeah,
damage of the flood, you get a lot less technology because of course it wouldn't be as prevalent. There's been loads of damage, there's not as much money, technology isn't everywhere.
yeah.
So
But
you
people are
do
phones.
kind of forget it's all there
Yeah,
until he opens TikTok.
yeah. Do you know what's going to be funny though? If they utilize that in the Batman 2, and it's like showing a bunch of TikToks where people are like, I saw him. I saw this guy in Gotham. He's beating up, and it becomes this like
Batman would love TikTok
they're gonna make
as
Batman into
a
a
surveillance
trend.
tool. He
Um,
absolutely would, though. That is exactly. Imagine living in Gotham with TikTok and you're hearing all these stories about the Batman. Bearing in
yeah,
mind, it is canon for like the first year and a half, 2 years of Batman's crime fighting efforts that he's an urban myth. He's not
yeah,
real. So the first 2 years of like Batman stops crimes again, and no one believes he's a real person. The memes would be phenomenal.
yeah. They really would. Uh, Going back to the episode, the doctor therapist
Mm-hmm.
going full in with Sophia.
Well, I think we're spot on. He's going to end up being Scarecrow.
Yeah, I think he's something's obviously going to happen to Sophia. I think.
I would assume so.
Um,
I don't know how Sophia and Penguin can coexist.
yeah, something has to come to heads at the end of this, which then we know the mushroom thing somewhat has come from him.
At least
So,
partially.
but if Penguin gets it back up and running, there's nothing stopping him essentially buying some or like circulating in his own version into like the market. And people obviously
Yeah.
in the market wouldn't know if it looks the same, but he's like tweaked the recipe so it's like more potent or something. And that's where that scarecrow is coming from. I think that could be. I do think he is like going full evil doctor mode now.
Something is not quite right there. There is definitely something going on. Whether he is just like the guy who starts to discover this stuff and like the series ends with him like going to Jonathan Crane and they start working on it together,
Hmm.
or whether he is just straight up this universe's Scarecrow, I don't know. But very interesting to see how that subplot develops because it's not being discussed a lot online. I'm not seeing much about it, but that dude is fucking weird.
Hmm.
The actor who plays him is a well-known actor, and don't get me wrong, I get a project of this caliber is going to have a fair few
No,
well-known
but
actors anyway, but I'm just kind of like, you're
yeah,
like
you're more than just a
you're like
doctor.
blockbuster villain kind of famous,
Yeah,
not
you're
I'd
not.
like to be in a good TV show famous.
You're not just therapist becomes sideman to Sophia. Yeah, it's very
And
suspicious.
selling that drug would give him so much access to tinkering with the drug, and if he weasels away into being in charge of that drug and like, oh, I can make a more potent, more powerful version, that's the perfect excuse for him to fuck around with trialing a scarier version and oh, how do I induce these hallucinations, which we already think has something to do with that red dot light that we saw
Yeah,
in the previous episode. There's something's happening.
yeah, there is. Um, the when they're like at the Falcone mansion and the police are all there and stuff, the kind of purposeful shot showing that the little girl was getting taken to an orphanage. Do you think that is either they're trying to set some like potential setup in the future that this is someone that comes back, or do you think it was just more there just being like, look, the orphanage exists?
I don't know. I don't know, to be honest. Um, I think it's. I think it was used to show that Sophia saved the girl, but what she actually saved her from.
Yeah, I I just like I feel like everything has a purpose in these things, and I'm like, yes, there's obviously that to it, but I do wonder. Obviously last week I mentioned, is she going to be poison ivy because greenhouse and all this? I actually think now I'm thinking about it, unless they do big time skips to the second film, like, this isn't going to be a long running universe.
No.
Um,
If we're lucky, we'll get a trilogy with
yeah,
maybe a show
so
in between each
there's
film.
not really a chance that this kid gets to an age where they become a villain. I wonder if it's more, because I can't remember in the first film if it was shown about the orphanage, or if this is Matt Reeves kind of being like, look, the orphanage is there that everyone always comes from.
Yeah, I don't really know. It'll be interesting to see if that does lead anywhere. As you know, I'm very much in the camp of I want a Robin for the sequel. So maybe you're right. Maybe it is a case of going. There's an orphanage. They have orphans there. No, you know what orphans are really good at?
You know what Batman
Being
loves?
Robins.
He loves an orphan.
Batman loves making an 11-year-old orphan fight crime. It's his favourite thing to do. Phenomenal episode. I'm so
Oh, yeah.
excited to see the rest of this show. It is so good. I'm really curious to see where Oz's storyline finishes, where Vic's storylines finish, where Sophia's storyline finishes, and where Dr. Julian Rush's storyline finishes. That's the most interesting to me because there's so little, but I've convinced myself it's crucially important. So every time he's on screen, I'm watching him like, what are you doing? I got my eyes on you, boy.
I've just had a really kind of bad thought about what might be coming.
Oh no, go on.
We know that we're led to believe we're not going to like Penguin by the end of episode 8.
Uh-huh.
We know that he's starting to turn a more evil side. Who does Penguin care, or who does Oz care about the most?
His mother.
Who's he trusting in charge of his mum?
Vic. Yeah.
Now,
It's a real concern.
What if something happens to his mum and he full just blames Vic and turns on him?
Yeah. There is a not small amount of people online who are convinced that he's going to kill Vic.
I think something's going to happen to his mum, and Vic's going to get the blame, and Vic's might not make it to the end of the series.
Yeah. Incredible show so far, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens next.
Speaking of incredible shows,
Vox Machina, episodes 7, 8, and 9. Can we go back to having like insane sexy scenes out of nowhere? Yeah, it may be in Jump, but at least I didn't want to cry at work.
I don't know how to talk about these 3 episodes of you. For the listeners, I've watched Critical Role when it was the live game. There are things I know that will spoil things, so I really don't know how to talk around this. Excited that season 4's got confirmed.
Yes.
So, I will say, these 3 episodes, roller coaster. They shook me. And damn, they know how to write a good show. Obviously, they had the live game as their basis, but like to turn that into a animated
you still got
show,
to adapt it, yeah.
Yeah, they've fully rewritten the story. Something I did find out is because they did like a little roundtable thing at just before last week's episodes, so like at the midway point. I kind of did know this, but this confirms it. But Travis and Sam are the 2 that have headed Legends of Vox Machina. They are they're the ones that have been there writing it alongside the writers.
Who does Sam play, sorry?
Sam plays Scanlan.
Okay.
And Travis is Grog.
I know Travis is Grog. Yeah. I love me some Grog. Grog was the only saving grace for my soul in these 3 episodes.
The fix him. That line in the live game broke so many hearts.
Travis. So here's the thing with Travis. He is a big, beautiful idiot. Like, if you know nothing about him. When he speaks on like panels and stuff, he comes across as incredibly intelligent. I'm sure he is. I Travis is he's awesome. He's voiced so many iconic characters. He's an incredibly talented voice actor. He's an incredibly talented performer. Forgetting like the incredible voice work he can do, just performing, he's brilliant. I'm not surprised that he's the head of the creative team for this and doing such a good job alongside Sam. Let me read out some of the messages that I sent while I was at work having finished these episodes. So I said on Monday, just watched episode 7 of Vox Machina, and I want to be violently sick. At which point Holly said, oh shit, I've got to go watch and find out why.
Yeah.
I said, I have to wait until lunch tomorrow, and there better be a resolution I am happy with. Holly then said he's seen it, and he's going to be silent moving forward, because he realised what part of the story we were at, and I just went, I'm devastated. So in episode 7, Percy dies. Like, obviously other stuff happens, but at the end of the episode, he deals with the woman, I forget her name, Ridley. And he, like, gets over his vengeance. He offers her a hand. He goes, you can do so much great for this world if you stop being angry. Which is beautiful, by the way. The writing of that, like, dialogue, gorgeous. And she's like, okay. And then she pops out a little gun and shoots him in the fucking chest. Let me be very clear about this. I know we joke about how we're both like on spectrums and stuff. One of my biggest traits that would get me a diagnosis is my pattern recognition. It's ridiculous. It's why Jenna doesn't share what mobile game she's enjoying with me. Because if it's interesting to me, I will download it, I will optimize it, and I'll overtake her. Yeah, my pattern recognition is insane. It's not deliberate, it just is. Which means watching TV shows to me can sometimes, despite how much I enjoy it, be a bit difficult because tropes are tropes for a reason. The way stuff is written is the way stuff is written. You start to notice things. I have no idea what the fuck's going to happen because this is based on D&D, where some idiot voice actor playing a game with his mates could, for one random session, decide he was going to do something completely out of character. Which they can do, it's their prerogative, they're having fun, and that changes the entire course of that arc, and you can't predict that.
Nope.
Because when they were playing the game, they weren't playing like, oh, this is going to be an animated TV show one day, they're just trying to have fun. Which makes it better, because I can't predict it. But I'm not used to not having any fucking clue where we're going. And then when you add in the fact that D&D literally has like mechanics in place for a character permanently dying and being replaced, I'm sat here and I'm like, I was like, okay, cool. It's ended, but we're going to the next episode. The next episode will be them going to get like a magical item that will let them resurrect him. Cool, whatever. The next day, I open up the episode. I'm like, right, cool. Let's see what's going to happen. I see them walking into a building. Grog doesn't have a beard. I'm like, oh, Grog shaved. Strange. I'm like, oh, this is them going to go find a magical item or something to save Percy. Fucking flashback to when they met Percy. At which point, I literally audibly went, "Oh no, not great."
Flashback, it was something completely new for me because obviously that stuff was they'd played for. I don't want to say how over a year, just as a home game before this became like the live game.
So this might be something they've always known is how they met, but never needed.
Yeah, this was probably from like session 1 or something, but yeah, we didn't get to know.
And then it cuts to his funeral back in Whitestone. And I'm just like, no, this is unacceptable. Percy in season 1 wasn't like, I was pretty indifferent towards him. Season 2, Percy really grew on me. And now I'm livid at this point. I'm like, right, we're going to go off, do some stuff. As long as a new character doesn't get introduced, I'm not going to start panicking. They're all busy guys. Maybe it was literally just a case of, I have to go away and work on a project for a while. I can't be here. Because this was still in the early-ish days of Critical Role. It might not have been so big yet that they could like kind of turn down work to keep doing Critical Role.
Ashley Johnson, actually, for a lot of it, Pike was off. Like there was often parts of the campaign where Pike went off for a bit because she had work.
In season 1 where Pike wasn't in like 2 or 3 episodes, wasn't there? Because she'd gone to chapel or something.
So they kind of shortened it for this animated show and like have had fun getting to add her into parts of the story arcs because she wasn't there.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a lot of the live game that she missed or she would do over like Skype or Zoom, because I think it was
Exactly.
actually before Zoom.
Yeah, I mean, she was probably doing like The Last of Us Part 2 or something at the time.
Well, no, this is before that.
Maybe the 12 remastered version, I don't know.
Oh no, it was she was in a TV show, and I forget what it was now.
So I'm there like, as long
yeah.
as there's not a new character introduced, and I don't see him voice. Insane! I've never hated the Amazon feature where you can see the cast before. Because I was checking it, and I was like, "Cool, he's not in this scene. It's fine." Desperately, I'm like, as long as there's not a new character introduced, we're absolutely fine. He can still come back. Copium out the fucking wazoo. So we go through episode 8. They form an army. Really cool episode. Don't get me wrong, I love these episodes, and we'll talk about these episodes. I'm talking about the emotional journey of Percy.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get into episode 9, where like the siege on Mount Doom, as I'm going to call it, has started, and obviously it went wrong, and the dragons come out, and they're like, "Shit, what do we do?" Grog gives a brilliant, "Right, this is what we're going to do," which is really funny because that's clearly a moment where Travis has broken through Grog and come up with the plan. So they make that a joke by Grog going, "I blacked out." What did I say? Really, really funny. Cracked me up. So much love for Grog. If anything happens to Grog, we will riot. This won't just be Connor goes on a ramble for 10 minutes. This will be Connor refuses to watch the show until he's confirmed that Grog is back and healthy. So we do our stuff. Scanlan and Grog go in, fuck up some dragon's eggs. Then Scanlan goes fucking Super Saiyan, which was awesome. All the characters getting their own like Super Saiyan moment was really fucking cool. I really enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm.
But then he should fucking knock the fuck out and comatose or whatever. If we lose 2 of these motherfuckers in this season, there are going to be hell to pay. The only good news is he's not dead. Like, we know he's not dead. He's just unconscious. He's in some weird magical limbo state. I'm going to assume that my current working theory is Scanlan is in D&D equivalent of limbo. He is going to go and find Percy's soul and drag it back to Earth, kicking and screaming, back into his body, and the team will be reunited. If Percy is actually dead, and that's how they've killed him off, I'm going to lose my mind because it was so out of fucking nowhere and gut-wrenching. And while that's good TV, it sucks because I like Percy. I'm so happy to stream more episodes, so I at least have a chance of a little bit of like being able to maybe work out what direction this is going to go. But if a new character magically appears in one of these next 3 episodes, I'm going to start to get very fucking nervous.
So last week, I mentioned Scanlan not being there in one of the episodes.
Yeah.
I felt like they're setting up a story moment that I think is coming. I still, from that and from what happened in these 3 episodes, we're still on track for it to potentially happen in these last 3. Emotionally, I don't think either of us are ready for these last 3.
Oh no.
It's so hard because it's like, I really don't, because of like how intense this is, I really don't want to spoil anything. With the Scanlan thing, I'll say the unconscious thing, I think is their way of playing with the D&D mechanic of like, you have to do death save. Like, you can be kind of dead but not dead in a state of that. That's them dealing with that state of limbo, I think, which is basically how it happened in the thing. I would say, I don't know if it just because I don't know, maybe just because in the live game it hit harder, but Travis's moment where he's like, fix him, and he's screaming that, hit so much harder in the live game because he did it so well. Like, when you're there, sat there watching and you see Travis playing Grog, and it's like, in that moment, you see him like shout at all the others, fix him. I'm trying to remember now if he uses the line in the animated show that, at least in the live game, he says, "You all can do this incredible magic, but you can't do anything now." Like, basically, because he plays it as such a good way of like, all his character friends have magic in different degrees and can do crazy shit, and he is just,
you can transform, you can fly, you can do all this shit.
and for him, he is just a guy
that punches shit really hard.
So to his character, he's like, how like the emotion he has in the live game, like it definitely came across, and like I was like in shock when they did that to us with this. There's definitely a little bit of condensing.
Yeah.
That's making this feel very, very intense. But I actually think this is amazing fucking writing.
I'm
going back to the that mid-season thing that I was talking about, where they were talking about stuff, because that's the only things I feel safe to talk about. Fun fact, Liam. So I was saying Travis and Sam have done like the main heading up of this whole thing.
Yeah.
They obviously have a group chat where like when they get sent art, they pass it into the group chat and they all get to see like art as things are being made. They all recorded in the same room for season 3. So
oh, that's cool.
Because like season 1 and 2 was back during like COVID-esque. So this time they all got to be in the same room together. Of which, imagine recording them scenes with Taliesin and Laura Bailey, and her husband's in the same room.
Yeah, when I realised that Travis and Laura are married, at first I was like, "Oh, that's really sweet," and secondly, I was like, "That's also really funny."
Yeah, because Taliesin, who plays Percy, was like, "Oh, when I'm in a sound booth, I live in the awkwardness." He's like, "I wanted to make that." And Laura is like the opposite when recording. She suddenly gets really shy. So he had loads of fun with it, apparently. The hot tub episode, Liam, who plays Vex, not Vax.
Yeah.
Liam wrote that episode. So it seems like they've had some of the cast actually like write some of the episodes. And he said when he found out that it was the bath, he was able to do the bathtub thing, because that's obviously like his character. He was like, I had so much fun with it. The goldfish thing I mentioned, he was like, I had to get that reference in. So I don't think we're going to see the actual scene of that, but that is very much a reference to Keyleth being like, we're gods, and jumping off, turning into goldfish and going splat. Apparently the art, Travis was saying, there was a literal meeting and discussion about the size of the hot tub, of which the first draft was, that's too small, that wouldn't work, that would be a bit too weird.
I love the idea of them, but like the three of them being in a meeting room, laying down on the floor, trying to work out how big it needs to be a little uncomfortable, but not so small that it's like, well, they're definitely going to accidentally brush against her and realise someone's there.
He was like, there was the discussion of that's too big, or that we need to find that perfect thing. But yeah, also the changes that I mentioned about the calamity and stuff, that was like a creative decision of like, they realized there's the story where they go to hell, there's a story where they go to the fire elemental plane, like they found a way to merge that. Also, apparently they were writing that right after the calamity 6-parter. So obviously,
it's really fresh.
Definitely some recency bias to be like, oh shit, we could make use of this new stuff.
That was really cool, and that mixes in nicely.
Yeah. Which I actually really like. But yeah, I messaged you today being like, I could have watched 10, 11, 12 today, but for the sake of the pod and not getting anything mixed up or accidentally giving anything away, I haven't watched it.
There is a real chance I binge all 3 over the weekend instead of waiting until next week. But we still won't talk about it too much, other than holy shit.
Yeah. I fear it's going to be intense.
The copium tank is running out. I'm really scared for Percy and Scanlan. Especially when inside canon there is already a Scanlan-esque character that, like, as a comic book fan, Scanlan's daughter is like the perfect character to step into Vox Machina if Scanlan was to die, because she does the same things and she has an emotional connection to the OG. So I'm just there like, that's a little bit scary. Do they also go and get Ridley and she like replaces Percy? Because that's quite scary. But I don't think they'd get rid of the voice actors. But I guess like the money goes to Critical Role and they divvy it up anyway. So like if it's like we're going to do less work, maybe they're not too worried. But I'm worried. If I hear or I see that Percy's voice actor's got a credit and then there's no flashback scene, I'm going to probably fall on the floor and cry. Which I think has to go to show how good a job they've done establishing these characters in 9, 2 lots 12, 33 episodes?
Yeah, something
Like half an hour long.
Something I will say where I'm in the same boat as you. Well, the fandom was shook that have seen the live game. And this doesn't spoil anything, but Cash,
yeah,
and Zara, who are
that was that was horrific.
Cash didn't die in the live game.
No, correct me if I'm wrong here. Were they guest voice actors they got on for? Their characters that
the last time with the Slayer's Take episode when they were there, that was them doing a guest, and then in Critical Role fashion, sometimes the guest came back. But this is like, you've got to think these arcs lasted for months because it's one game a week. Like they came back on like way later for this because it was like a cool, we get to bring them back and they can come on again.
But they decided to kill Cash off in the show instead of.
There's things about those two characters that we got told like at the end of the campaign of like where they ended up. And this changes
that now
things.
Isn't true. Oh no! Did Cash and Zara go off and be happy and get married, and now that can't happen? Oh no!
The fandom is shook because everyone's like, "What does this mean?"
That Cash death scene was beautifully animated, by the way.
It was so well done in the like reveal. In
his ghost form looking down at his mangled body. But it's interesting because obviously Vax was out like in like the ethereal world, I'll call it just to make it easy, because he's got like the Raven woman,
the Raven Queen,
is like his sponsor or whatever.
So she is the goddess of death. He made a deal with her. It gets a more intense deal down the line, but like he now has this like his fate is tied to her choice, like what she wants of it. I think.
So could he have saved Cash, but he didn't because the Raven Queen said not to? Is that the implication?
I think it's more. I don't think they were showing it like in a sense of like he could have saved him. I think they were showing he was seeing what the Raven Queen sees when like a spirit, like he.
So he saw Cash's ghost.
I think he saw that, and like it was meant to show that he has now got this connection to the goddess of death. So he's starting to see these things where he sees.
He's not seen Percy. Oh my god! Is he going to make some? Is he going to get further in debt to the Raven Queen to save Percy? Oh.
I will say, I don't remember how it's like the Vax and Raven Queen becomes a very big part of his story arc for the whole campaign. So but like this is the thing, there is some things they've done differently that I'm now like, I know things, but also like they're
tweaking just enough.
They've proven they'll change like and merge story arcs and different things, so like it throws me off at times. So
phenomenal writing, phenomenal voice acting, phenomenal animation.
You haven't talked about the whole Vex saying, not saying.
Vex not saying I love you. I think I'm sitting in a little bubble of disbelief where she's going to get to say it. However, when Percy comes back and she doesn't say it straight away, I will get angry with her. I'm a little bit concerned because I know how fucky D&D can get about Percy coming back, but like demon inhabited Percy.
I
So
will also
it's
say,
Percy's body, but not Percy's soul. And then the end of like season 5 is the reveal that Percy's the big bad, and then they have to fight Percy because that might hurt more. Because that seems like the kind of shit Matt would pull off. He'd go to whoever voices Percy, I forget,
Taliesin.
Taliesin, and go, okay, I'll make you a deal. I will bullshit away up for Percy to come back alive, but you're now on my side. Like, that seems like the kind of shit Mercer will try and pull off. So I'm very skeptical of that.
I'm pretty sure. Well, I know across all their campaigns, I think Matt has them make several characters. Or some of them do choose to make several characters on the occasions that something would happen. But like, it's funny
like
because obviously they've confirmed season 4, and we will talk about that in the news. But like, season 4 got confirmed. Travis has talked on the fact that like, writing up to where they are in season, like they didn't know if obviously they hoped season 4 would get confirmed or renewed, and Amazon would want to keep this going. But like, they are literally now at they're trying to just like cram as much of the story in, so like respectfully, like not too much that it doesn't make sense, but like they're just trying to tell as much of this story as they get chance to. There's not a guarantee this reaches the end of the whole Vox Machina story, which would be a shame.
Is all of the episodes on YouTube?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I feel like if they don't get to the end of it, I would have to go back and like work out where I got up to.
It's a lot of hours.
Yeah, but I'd have to go to wherever like the story got up to and like jump in.
You'd be able to find out, because there's some like wild shit that happened. Like, I will say, all I will say with the D&D is like, as you get to like level 18 to 20, like you are essentially becoming gods. Like
you do some wacky shit.
Matt has to scale shit to match that, and like the story arc gets crazy towards the end.
The nature
but there's still plenty to go till then, so we'll wait and see.
Yeah, loving the show so far. It's got 3 episodes to save me. This tank of copium is getting a little bit light. You know what I mean? But let's move on to Agatha All Along.
Ooh, yes.
Episode 7. I'm going to say this off rip. Episode 7 takes this from, you know what, that was a pretty good show, to, oh my god, this might be one of the best shows they've done.
I do think this, like we talked about last week, we're like, they've finally done a episode where things make sense from previous, and now things have been revealed, and it's wicked, and it's like, oh wow, we went. That was like beginner level of doing that. This episode took like what they did with Wanda in previous stuff and just dialed it up to 11. Like, this is probably by far MCU terms, but like this is one of the most creatively written series to allow this episode to work. The build up to the realization of all those crazy kind of cuckoo moments from
Lila
actually had a reason that wasn't just like a character trick. Like, it was actually this interweaved logical story of events that they did such a good job of showing it pieced together that it suddenly starts to click, and you're like, holy shit. And they literally weave in a story through just pure like clip moments, which is almost like when people go back through things, they're like, oh, if you edit these things together, it's like some secret message. And it's like, no shit, it actually was a secret message this time.
I have such strong feelings about this episode. First and foremost, Patti LuPone, who plays Lila, better get an Emmy nomination for Best Supporting Actress.
To do this as a to perform this, like, you need some acting chops behind you to do this.
Phenomenal. Secondly, there have been times in the previous episodes where she's had one of her weird moments, and like Tower reversed literally last week. You're like, oh, I wonder if that's about Wanda. And then we get the payoff that every time she had one of these weird moments. Okay, so this is going to be so off tangent, but you need to stick with me.
Okay.
Right. So the TikTok trend at the minute is non-linear storytelling.
Oh, I
Yeah?
thought you were going to say something else, but okay.
No. Non-linear storytelling.
Yeah.
It's like you'll get like the start of a clip and then it'll cut to like the punchline of the clip and it'll keep cutting
Oh, the
back
subtle,
and forth.
the subtle foreshadowing.
Yes,
trend.
yeah. So that meme came about from Megaopolis
Oh, okay.
because that film's a non-linear storytelling experience. That's the way Francis Ford Coppola's put it forward.
Okay.
And it's been kind of mocked for that because it's like, well, stories are told in a straight line. This episode did non-linear storytelling phenomenally. Because even though it feels linear because we're following Lila, it's still not linear because she finds stuff out from someone else before she finds it out, even though she told them. It's brilliant. I don't know. If this episode was from a show from the 80s, we'd be sat here right now going, how many drugs were they taking to come up with this? It's genius.
No, yeah, it's the slow build up as well. Like, it's at first you're like, oh, she's kind of having like weird flashbacks and forgetting stuff that she's already said. Because it's like they're now showing it from her perspective. And we get the build up of her character suddenly kind of realizing what, like, she's fought this kind of time being this weird fantasy, like it's not a linear thing. She's fought it for years, like, and she just, it's this thing that she's known happens to her. It's like this realization of her finally leaning into it, and as they do that, they make it more clear for us as the viewer by like piecing the clips together, and like that build up is what really sells this non-linear storytelling. And like that, like going from me last week thinking the tower, oh, maybe that's a Wanda thing, maybe there's like some weird, to no, that was actually her future, but like we didn't know. And like all the other stuff was like often sometimes just screams or reactions to things, and we're like, oh, she's being told.
From the very first time we met her in episode 2, she was played off as this kooky person who sometimes drifts away.
And like,
and then in this episode, they've just gone, we're gonna pay off every single time she dropped into a little kooky world, and it's gonna make this episode genuinely. I cannot think of a single 30 minutes of Marvel writing in the MCU that is better than this episode. Like the creativity to come up with this, the payoff of so many things that seemed innocuous. It was almost like they wrote this episode first and built everything around it. That's how crucial this episode is.
Yeah, they had to have had this written, and then we're like, we're gonna break this up and just chuck it in other episodes.
Yes.
But it's like also as the viewer, we are missing bits, and we're like, wait, how are they now in the room with them doing the tarot thing? Shit's been explained, and we're like, we're also at the same time trying to piece it together, to which then they give us that payoff. Like, it was so well done.
And the one of the bits that I really loved about like the way it's trying to show that time isn't linear is the first time they're in the room, she's angry at Wiccan. And then you have everyone else saying, no, you're cool with him now. You've been cool with him.
Yeah.
And then it gets paid off later that when they come in the room, because she's already been angry at him, she is now cool with him. So she comes in and she's cool with him. And everyone else is like, wait, what the fuck do you mean we're cool with him? She's like, no, we're fine. And it's like, but that it already it's brilliant. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure if you really, really went down and tried to, you'd be like, oh, that's a bit paradoxical and stuff. But time's an illusion, therefore it can't be paradoxical. I genuinely think this is like, it's not time travel in like the truest sense. It's the same idea. Everything happened in a straight line for everyone else. We just finally got to see everything the way Lila's been seeing it all along.
Yeah. Which
and
is
it
like
was
in
gorgeous.
spirals and loops.
Like,
and what.
Going back to such a throwaway line where we didn't even think she'd lost it in the third episode where she goes, I love you guys.
Yes.
And that being a part of her jumping around as well. Brilliant. Yeah. And then it ends with the single best fucking payoff of her getting to go back to her family and be a child again. Because this is really funny, and this going back to if you're watching the full episode, as we were talking about in Vox Machina, like pattern recognition, I realised a little bit before the end, I was like, she's not going to die like they're making us think she is. She said she had all these gaps when she was a child. She's going to go back and get to live through them gaps. Because if time's an
it's just kind of,
illusion,
it's
she's just
broken
going to get to
the-
like bounce through her entire life over and over and over again.
Yeah. And like basically what she's got from the Witch's Road is she's broken that curse, if you want to call it a curse. And now she just gets... I really did enjoy how they used this elder witch or mystic woman who was well aware kind of what was going on. And
Going,
she's
oh, you're back.
her
How
being
long's it
like
been?
the teacher and being and like that helps lead us on with realizing what's going on. Yeah, like the tower being flipped upside down. There was definitely still a part of me was like, she'll flip it back, right? Like, no, this is not the moment. But also the comment at one point where they're like, oh, we saw the Salem 7 in the subway. And it's like, you think, subway,
What do you
all right,
mean?
whatever. And then we get the payoff later. So my brain, do you remember in WandaVision when
Maybe.
there was like a toy plane crashed in the garden and it
Yes.
started kind of weirdly glitching and that was a drone?
Yes.
And it was like this weird blend of, is it not weird that there's a subway in the Witch's Road? Could this not be more mystical illusion shit?
I think it's just
Or do you think that's just part of like, oh, it's like
there's like these weird places you can get in and out of magical things. I think that's just like
okay.
the subway's a weird and magical place.
I was like, is it illusion breaking sort of situation? But it probably isn't. But it's like, considering that's the world we've lived in with all the magic shit with Wanda and stuff.
And once again, they've managed to pull off a character reveal that everyone had already predicted in still a surprising and insightful way.
Yes. Lady Death.
Mm-hmm.
I also, too, would be in love with Lady Death if it's Aubrey Plaza.
Yeah. And like the lower half being like a
Oh.
kind of scully bit, it was creepy.
Well,
but I know
some-
certain people on the internet, I'm not going to name any names, monster fuckers, were very much enjoying the design choices.
Well, we also essentially already had the reveal of her because in the first trial when they're having the like visions of like horror moments, Lila's character sees the elder one dead and like this weird creepy skulled death thing climbs up, and that is exactly what's Aubrey. We just didn't really know it then because it only showed like that part of her. And then obviously the reveal of like her matching the card perfectly. The tarot card.
Oh, that was a beautiful bit of like, let's talk about the fucking visual imagery of the cards, which obviously the big reveals of like the weirder things she said. Every single card matching her. And like again, some of them were not bits when we realised she drifted out. Like when they said the priestess when she met the other witch earlier on in the show. We didn't take that as her being out of it. Yeah. But then it like all the cards matching beautifully. I'm like, oh, it's this is what TV and art is all about. I've sat here for the last 135 episodes going, we need to let creative people try creative things with these IPs and stop being so protective and weird about them when they are inherently such creative IPs. And we're starting to do that and we're being rewarded for it.
We haven't even talked about the fact. So going into this series, I was like, oh, I wonder if each episode's going to be a different witch film or show theme. And like, instead they went with just different themes, like yearly themes. Again, and then they're like, oh, don't worry, we haven't forgotten. Have all the witches in one episode from every IP that we can.
So this is the funny thing. Marvel always gets nominated for like hair and costume design awards. This is the first time I sit here and I'm like, this fucking deserves to win hair and costume and set design and shit like that.
Yeah, there's the whole show for every episode.
Yeah, the like forgetting, which is an insane thing to say of how well written this is. Forgetting how good the writing and the acting is. The set design, the costume design, the thought into the use of colour and everything in this show is second to none. Disney, this is how you make TV. You've got it. Now, all you have to do is stop being so worried about it being 9 episodes. Granted, I think you're okay with this one. but you might still fuck that up if you allow yourself to just go, it's as long as it is, if that's 12 episodes, 15 episodes, whatever, and then make your goal just making good quality TV. I promise you, you are going to see the benefits, because this show is fucking phenomenal. And to them idiots going, who asked for this? I did. And once again, proving just because you asked for something doesn't mean it's good. And just because you didn't ask for something doesn't mean it's shit.
Do you want to know also this proves the point of what we've always said is practical first with digital to help elevate that.
Touch it up.
Always works better than leaning on digital more. Like this, the fact we talked about like the Witch's Road was like all these sets are practical, like the outfits, the makeup, obviously all practical. Like sells this so much better than if this was just done on the volume or like on the green screen. And they did all like the VFX on their faces and stuff. But like, it's like you say, they're getting back to a place where it feels like they're going in the right direction with TV.
It's so crazy because right now in the art world, I see us healing in a lot of ways. More people are like, yeah, support artists, watch artists do their thing, support writers, support animators, support actors. Look at some of the really cool stuff we can make. And then on the flip side, it feels like art has never been less respected as we see AI getting pushed forward and more people just accepting AI as a new way of life and not caring about these strikes or anything. And I just find myself going, I see so much good in like the reception towards art. And then on the flip side, I'm like, but there is so much scary stuff right now. Like, I want to just be able to sit here and pump my fist that we've got great TV right now. But I'm also looking at what like the dark art shit going on. I'm like, oh, but we need to be over there making some fucking noise going, no, pay your artists. This is why. This show is literally why writers will never be replaced by AI. AI could not write this episode because it would get so confused in itself trying to keep track of this story.
Yeah. Trying to do all the broken story
couldn't.
and stuff, like it would send itself into a loop where it would then jumble itself.
You could give AI this script and ask it to explain the episode to you and it would get lost because of like the contradictions which aren't real contradictions if you have patience. AI doesn't have patience.
Yeah.
This episode is literally, I might put it on a pedestal as the reason we don't need AI, because you had actual artists making physical sets. You had actual actors delivering some of the best acting we've seen on a streaming show in fucking ages. And you had a script that AI couldn't fucking conceive of, let alone write as well as it was written. This show is the shining example that I can think of right now of why AI is fucking pointless in the arts world. Because my god, it's so good. I didn't think coming, like me and you said, coming into this show, we don't know what to expect. Hopefully it'll be okay. Hopefully it'll be a bit of fun. And I'm literally coming out at the end of this very ready, if they stick the landing, to go, this is the best TV show Disney Plus have made.
Yeah, and if anything, like we came into this, like you say, maybe this will be good. We'll see how it goes. It looks somewhat potentially be interesting. Was not expected to be blown away like this.
No.
And if this does mark a turning point in how Disney Plus is approaching TV shows on the writing side, practical sets and whatnot, it gives me so much hope for Daredevil.
Yes.
Knowing that they got in some of the Netflix writers from the original show, restarted from scratch, and I have so much hope for that show to be as good as this has felt.
Yes, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Wow. This episode's amazing. We got a double bill to finish off the show next week.
Oh, it's double bill next week.
It's a double bill to finish off the show. Hopefully they stick the landing.
Oh, next week's going to be stacked with Vox Machina.
Yeah, because after how good this episode's been, I'm going to be crushed if they fluff the landing here.
All I can say is, like, the only thing I can perceive them messing up is maybe it kind of doesn't too many stories are left a bit open ended. Like they finish them, like they wrap the main ones, but then they leave some things where we're like, yeah, but what about that thing? That's my only worry.
The big
But
thing is to make sure you close everything that's only going to be addressed in this show.
yes,
Like if the other witch whose name I'm fucking forgetting, the priestess, if her arc isn't finished, it's not going to get addressed again.
no.
So that would be like, okay, but what happened? What's the point? Whatever happens with Billy can be left a little bit open ended because he's definitely going to be a big part of the MCU going forward.
Yeah, same with Agatha in a way, because it's like Wanda, she can be left in the same way that Wanda has. The way it's like,
Exactly.
I loved in the episode where he's like, so is my mum dead? And she's like, yes. No, maybe. Like the long pause to then be like, everyone's like, oh, well, they've confirmed it. Oh, wait, no. She's not.
I really enjoyed the if you want a straight answer, ask a straight woman.
Yeah, that was
Really
also
funny.
such a great line.
Because you just know the worst kind of people got really angry at that joke.
Oh, last thing, when they went into the castle and got their outfit reveal, and she's like, oh, well, they wrote this character off of me. And then Billy's like, well, if you've got the cheekbones.
Really, really good. Let's get into some preview stuff. Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. It feels so weird that we have got a brand new Spider-Man cartoon right round the corner, and it's finally here.
What's wild is like it feels like we've been waiting for this for so long. Like it feels like it first got announced so long ago, and it's obviously changed name slightly. They found whatever style they want. Like, it's taken a while to get put together, but yeah, it's exciting that we're getting some Spider-Man. It hopefully will quench our thirst for Spider-Man till we get Spider-Man 4, which we know is soon to start. Hopefully, filming and stuff. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. We've said it before. The art style is, in our opinions, we think we're down for it. It's definitely different. Doesn't mean it's going to be bad. I'm excited to like see them experiment in that sense.
Absolutely.
And it's another animated project, so
exactly. The big thing we've been lacking from Spider-Man in the last 5 years has been like small scale day-to-day Spider-Man doing shit. This is going to hopefully fill that gap a little bit. Obviously, like you said, when it was first announced, it was going to be freshman year. It was going to be a prequel to the MCU Spider-Man story.
Yeah.
And then it got changed. And then we didn't know if it was going to be set in the MCU anymore. And now it's definitely not set in the MCU. We've got a very unique cel-shaded style, which a lot of people aren't too excited for. I personally am of the opinion it looks fine in like the little bits we've seen. I'm really curious to see what an episode looks like. That's the only time you're really going to get a vibe for how you deal with the art. I think in comic book cartoon media, there is so much room to have fun with art styles that I'd rather them try cel-shaded and us go, oh, that's a bit disappointing, than just go for the really boring style we had as cartoons for the last 15 years.
Or like play it safe and go with X-Men 97 style. Like they could very easily do that or match like what they've done with What If and stuff. But that's not really pushing this animated. Like it's not.
It seems like visual identity is really important to their animated projects.
Yes. And like the fact that it's not tied directly, it's not. This isn't Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Like they don't have to kind of make it feel like it's connected to that. They can do whatever they want. I'm so down for this because what we've seen is, like you said, this like a cel-shaded style, but then they're very much leaning into a comic panel-esque idea of storytelling as well. And like this idea of essentially taking a comic book and animating each of the frames and the panels, like I'm down to see where this goes. I think it could really turn out really good.
With how long it's been cooking away for, I've got a feeling it could be something really special where they're like, we're going to try some funky stuff. We know a lot of characters are going to appear. So we know we're going to get lots of villains and we're going to get cameos, and it's going to be a really alive universe that we're plopped straight into.
Hmm.
And I think that gives us the opportunity to really have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And that's what this is all about at the end of the day. Like, let's be
Now,
honest, none of this stuff is like life or death. It's all
no.
about I want to see fun stuff. Spider-Man is as fucking fun as it gets. Spider-Man is the reason 99.9% of people give a fuck about superheroes, full stop. Let's be honest.
Yep.
So it feels wrong that we've not had a new Spider-Man cartoon for so long, or not had an ongoing Spider-Man cartoon for so long. It is only right that we have one, and I'm just excited that we've got to have one again. If it ends up not being my cup of tea, it'll suck, but that is what it is. But I'm excited that we get the opportunity for a new one.
Yeah, they're at least trying. I would very much prefer them to try new things with their animated stuff and try and get away from this, what has become their bog standard MCU style. This is how Marvel does all their superhero content. Like, they need to start branching out from that, because that's what comics work. Comics are art, and it's like artists got to experiment with their comic runs of like tweaking their visual style of things. Like, they need to do that in their other media as well. So I'm looking forward to it. Prediction: do we, as everyone loves stuff being like shoehorned in, do we get the Spider-Man pointing meme in this show? Somehow. Even if it's just like 3 random looking robbers that all look the same or something. Like the visual of the meme, but it could be someone else. Do you think they'd try that?
Maybe. I that's the kind of thing I'd see them waiting for a season 2.
Yeah, maybe.
What I will say is, if this show is successful, this Spider-Man will appear in Beyond the Spider-Verse in some way.
Yeah.
Like, we forget that that's around the corner, or however far away it is.
Who knows?
What I will say is, I'm like, I've sent a couple of TikToks to you. I'm in an arc in my life at the minute where I really want to enjoy art outside of the art I normally enjoy. So I'm making an effort to listen to new kinds of music I haven't listened to. I've got back into reading books. Like, there's a new TikTok page that I know we're both following that shows like artists who are making art now, not just like the famous ones that have been dead for 100 years.
Yeah.
And there's so much cool stuff out there. It's fucking awesome. And it's actually made me feel happier in myself. So I'm like, wow, there are some dope fucking people out there making some dope stuff. And I think that has made me even more staunch in my high horse I've been on for a while of just let creative people do creative shit. Don't get me wrong, I understand it's still a business and there needs to be some guardrails to make sure that it's like sellable, and I get that. But on the flip side, these kind of business people have only ever slowed progression in art. They've never accelerated it. They are a break. And while I like to ream on the Fast and Furious franchise, a little bit of speed never hurt anyone. So it feels like we're entering a little bit of time now where, especially in the animated medium, we're getting a lot of freedom for artists to try some stuff. So any animated project that I'm even semi-interested in that I see get announced, I'm like, oh,
yeah,
because it's just so exciting.
I really think. Obviously, don't get me wrong. There's been great Pixar films. There's been great Disney animated stuff over the years. And this, some people might say this is a bit of a hot take, but I think Spider-Verse, that first one, being so different with its art style from what people expected of this like age, to then kind of open the door for these smaller studios that have unique art styles, like we've seen in Love, Death and Robots and stuff. Like, it kind of showed on a big scale to these like big studios, like, oh, people like this stuff. They like when the artists get to kind of go wild with it. We then got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which they got to have fun with that. Like, it has sort of opened the door, and every time there's a new one that's like different or pushing it, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be so good.
You've got to reward creativity, even if you go see it because it's just different, and then go, I didn't quite like it, but I appreciate you tried something.
Yeah, exactly.
And while it is like, I do think a big turning point was Spider-Verse, but I think it's easy to pinpoint that as like the moment. There's never one moment,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like the closest to. But I also think like the Western world on a larger scale, embracing like anime,
Yeah,
open the door a creek. They're like,
yeah.
oh, they
Oh
like
yeah.
this more like flashy art style. Don't get me wrong, I love Pixar, but I like Pixar doing Pixar style. I don't want every studio to do Pixar
I
style.
know what you mean.
Just like people love Studio Ghibli. People would
Yes.
get very bored of that style if every animated film was Studio Ghibli style.
Yeah.
Studios need an identity. That's why we both love Vision so much, because we get to
Mm.
see all these studios and all their identities,
Mm-hmm.
and that's exactly what we want to see. And like, kind of on the same vein, like we're excited about the Dynamic Duo project. That's going to be some
Yes.
wacky
I went
kind
and
of,
looked that up.
yeah,
Their
some
puppeteering stuff's
wacky kind of
wild.
puppeteer and claymation with CGI and motion capture. It's going to be weird. It is, but
It's
let's have
yeah.
some fun.
Yeah.
Because if that works, it's going to be awesome.
Oh
And I
yeah.
think that's the way we need to approach new things. Not, oh, that's a bit weird. I'm not sure. It should be, that's a bit weird. If that works, it's going to kick an unbelievable amount of arse. Let's get on to our last preview. Venom: The Last Dance.
Mm. The end of Tom Hardy's story.
Yes, I'm. I bought my tickets.
Mm.
As this is going out on Saturday, I will have already seen it. I'm going to go see it at 9 o'clock tomorrow night.
I'm gonna maybe see if I can get to see it. We'll see.
I'm definitely in the camp of I preferred the first two more than the average audience.
Mm.
I think the first one is quite a bit better than people give it credit for.
Yeah.
I think
Fair.
the second one is a bit better than people give it credit for.
Mm.
There's a weird kind, and I think it's because Sony's released so much other shit that it gets kind of tarred with the same brush.
Yeah.
They're not phenomenal, but when you kind of look through it of the scope of the mid 2000s superhero films, which is what Sony is still trying to make,
Mm-hmm.
it's better than a lot of them.
Yeah, I have in my notes, but when you compare Venom to like the best of the MCU, Matt Reeves is the Batman. Some of like the like it, yeah, it's dated in its style. It doesn't reach the same heights as those films do. But when you look at it compared to all the other Sony stuff, like the Venom films are great compared to the rest of their Spider-Verse. And I almost, going into like this one, I kind of just I expected to be on par with the other Venom films against the other Sonyverse stuff. It's gonna look probably great. It'll definitely be a great drop project from them, and people will be like, oh, and talk about it, and not actually just mean the ever loving shit out of it. But then it's like, obviously, when you start comparing it to the wider comic book, film, and showverse, like it's not it. Like you say, it's stuck in that 2000s era. It's like Sony's about to drop the new Walkman or something, and then here's a Venom film. But
You know, everyone has films that aren't necessarily good, but they love anyway.
mm,
I think in about 15 years' time, we're going to see a generation of kids come through who watched these Venom films quite young, and they're like, yeah, they aren't great, but you dare talk shit about. Like, perfect example. How do you feel about, ironically, James Gunn's two Scooby-Doo films?
oh, love
Are
them.
they good films? Not really.
No, did they
Are,
absolutely bomb when they got released? Yeah.
but are you going to sit there and listen to anyone talk shit about them?
No.
Absolutely not. Because they mattered, goddammit. And I think Venom sits nicely
Yeah.
in that bracket. And let's be clear, we actually don't have enough films anymore that fall in that bracket.
No.
Everything is either a bomb and you can't find it anywhere. It gets 3 days in the cinema and then it gets put on a streaming platform that's hosted on one single server somewhere in Zimbabwe. Or you have Dune, which is the best film ever, blah. Like, there is no in between anymore. I think Venom sits right in that spot. I do think this is going to be the worst of the three.
I think they'll manage to end Tom Hardy's story.
I don't think he's actually done, though. I think this is all bullshit.
Nah, I think he is.
There's a bit too much conspiracy brain going on. And you know me, I'm normally pretty good at not getting warped into these conspiracy. But there's something about all of this, and I'm like, they're trying to make this feel like the end of RDJ, Chris Evans, Tobey Maguire, Hugh Jackman. But everyone knows he is not in the bracket of them people.
No, here's the thing. Like, Tom Hardy's been in a lot of other great films and shows. He's an incredible actor. I look at it from his point of view, right? He'll have had so many Venom films that he'd agreed to and was promised. Sony obviously doesn't want to lose the Spider-Man rights. They're going to keep milking this universe as much as they can, which is them saying this is the start of Noel, not the one and done. I actually think if you look at the track record, right, and the internet's perception of the Sony Spider-Verse, it's a pile of shit and gets memed the fuck out of. Tom Hardy's going to know that. Like, no actor can avoid that being the kind of talk of the town around. Do you think he really wants to be, like, I think he takes this as his way out to kind of separate himself from that universe.
So this I agree with. The way the press is being handled, I am convinced that he wants to be done with Sony, but he is being very careful with the way he's talking. He wants to go out and then get a phone call from Kevin Feige going,
"Oh, no.
We have a character called Venom over here. Would you like to come play him? He's big, black, and gooey, and he's an enemy of Spider-Man." Do you know what I mean?
Don't get me wrong. Like, I know he said he's still very open to working with them. Like, he's not done with superhero films. I do think this is him. I think they managed to end his story, and I think he gets out.
Saves himself from Sony.
Yeah. I think you're right in the sense of, like, it's not going to be as good as the other two, because I think whatever they do to set up Noel and that story and how they position themselves going forward, we're going to read it and we're going to see what they're doing, because we talk about this shit every week. We're going to analyze what they're doing. We're going to pick up on what they're trying to set up. And I think we're both going to be like, we're about to get another 3 films that just milk the shit out of this. And they've lost, like, their one saving character that was somewhat holding it all together as best he could has dipped. And we have no respect for these other characters they've set up, so why would we care about this world? I think they're suddenly leaving themselves with, like, a bunch of parts and no central character that people are actually enjoying.
They are desperate for Craven to be a success right now. Because Aaron Taylor-Johnson's big enough factor that if the Craven film is well received, he can carry Sony's Spider-Man stuff for a bit longer.
Yeah, true.
The only thing that's got me a little bit hopeful that I might like this film is Andy Serkis is voicing Null.
I mean,
you know how I feel about Andy Serkis.
Like, he's going to nail that.
I'm curious. The most curious I've been about a Venom film, but the least optimistic, I think, is the best way I can put it.
I think the hopium in me, which I think is something you said a couple of weeks back, was maybe this is them wrapping their world and sets this up to finally sit down at the table with Marvel and be like, we're sorry, let's do this properly and let's both make bank. Like, that is the hopium. I think the realistic thing is they're, like you've just said, they're going to now try and lean on Craven. And I think Craven, in their eyes, ends up being successful enough off the back of the people that love Aaron Taylor-Johnson. it might not be a great film, but enough people are going to be like, oh my God, he's amazing. Like, swoon for him, that they go see it, that they then put everything onto that. And it's going to get eked out for another 3 films. And
let me be completely clear. I think Aaron Taylor Johnson is going to act the ever-loving shit out of that script. The problem is, I am, bearing in mind how respectful I'm trying to be of art and the hard people who put it together, I am 75% sure I could put together a better characterization of Craven than what I'm almost certain we're going to get.
I'm so open for all this rumors of a vegan Craven and all this to be complete ruse, and like somehow we get a Craven we deserve, and Aaron Taylor Johnson can play that amazingly if he plays Craven, which is what we've always said. This is like, our worry is this is not a Craven film, this is just vegan hunter film.
Yeah.
If they actually nail Craven as a character, then I'd have hope. But until I see that, their track record proves otherwise. They promised Madam Web, and they gave some weird shit that I didn't even want to go watch because of what you said. Like, they sold everyone on a lie with that film, let's be honest.
The fact that anyone on planet Earth thinks that Madam Web is better than Joker Folie à Deux breaks my spirit in a way that I didn't know was possible.
So, yeah, we'll wait and see with Venom. I think Tom Hardy gets an end to his story in a fun way, and he gets out. The future of the Spider-Verse, I think, is very bleak.
I would concur. And we are here with some nerdy news now.
Yes.
A pretty chunky news piece.
Yeah,
There's some bits that kind of skirt around stuff we'd normally talk about, but I think are interesting enough that they warrant discussion. I'm on a roll of getting this mostly in chronological order with the oldest news first. Like, this is how on my shit I am at the minute. So everyone round of applause for me, please. Right.
Make sure you subscribe.
The Dune Prophecy trailer has been released. This is the new HBO show that's set in the Dune universe that is starting middle of November, end of November. It's set 10,000 years before the Dune films, and the story is centered around the beginning of the Bene Gesserit. I am very excited for this show. Horry is going to finally go and watch Dune.
Before this comes out, yes.
Yes.
I mean,
because I'm going to watch this anyway, and it's a brilliant opportunity for you to jump on the Dune train.
Let's be honest. I was able to watch the entirety of the 3 seasons of The Boys, 2 seasons of The Boys. No, it was 3. 3 seasons of The Boys in a week. I think I was like 2 episodes short of being in time.
And here's the thing, you're going to finish Dune 1 and instantly want to put on Dune 2. Not even like I may as well just watch them back to back. You're going to be like, no pee break. Need to watch second one now because it is that good.
I can see me doing that 100%. And being up till whatever time in the morning.
My only ill feeling I have about it towards you is the fact that you're not going to get to experience it in IMAX. Because while I'm not a snob about stuff like IMAX, it is one of the few films I've seen where I'm like, this needs that experience.
It's fine. One day when I've got like loads of money and I have a home theatre, I'll be able to rewatch it.
That's the dream, isn't it? It's one of them things as a kid I was like, that'd be really cool. And then as I got older, I'm like, that's completely unrealistic. And I'm like, if I can ever afford it, I'm going to make it happen because I love film and TV so much. I want the best experience imaginable.
You know you can buy a subscription thing which gets you like access to films as they're in theatre for your home theatres.
Oh, but I like going to the cinema.
I know, but like for those films where like Venom, The Last Dance, where you're like, I can watch it at home.
Yeah. It would save time, but I think it would start to upset me if I noticed I'd stopped going to the cinema that often.
I get you.
But it's cool. It's cool. Next up, one that I did tweet about, but I just had to mention it. Daniel Craig reportedly told Netflix co-CEO Ted Sarandos, "Your model is fucked," when they were told why they couldn't have a theatrical run, according to journalist Matthew Baloney. So this is about the third Glass on Knives Out
Knives
film.
Out. I was going to say this must be about Knives Out.
Yeah. So obviously it's going to be going straight to Netflix because it's a Netflix film. In a meeting, I forget who the director is, with Daniel Craig, the director, and Ted Sarandos, they were trying to get him to agree to a theatrical run. And he was like, "No, we don't do that here. That's not how our model works." And apparently Daniel Craig stormed out and went, "Your model's fucked."
Fair.
I'm going to get my tweet because, you know, one of them times where you tweet and you actually nail your feelings about it the first time? That is what I did here.
I'm trying to remember who it was. Oh, so this reminds me, maybe it was for Knives Out or something, but Casey Neistat has a friend who's a director who made a film, was told by Netflix that they'd be able to have a theatrical release as well, and then was told not allowed to. He was protesting like the board or whatever by saying, "I'm not going to go to the premiere of this." So I think the premiere was the only time it was ever shown in a theater. Like they did it in, and it's like, it's the fact that Netflix, let alone it's not their model. Sometimes they tell people, yeah, we can talk about theatrical, and then when it comes to it, they go, "Yeah, it's not happening." It's like some directors are sold on the idea that like it is possible, and Netflix turn around and go, "No, we're not doing that." So
I found my tweet, and these are my thoughts because it took me a while to come up with this tweet. It is, Daniel Craig is used as a generic leading man because he gave us arguably the most compelling run as James Bond. In reality, he's an absolute artist who cares about the medium so deeply, and I'm not at all shocked that he's fuming with Netflix being dickheads and not giving theatrical runs. Daniel Craig is one of the best actors of his generation, without a shadow of a doubt. He actually gets spoken down to or down about as an actor because he was James Bond. And getting all, like, I love James Bond, getting all kind of era nostalgia out of the way, he's the best James Bond. He did such a good and compelling run as James Bond. It's unreal.
Oh yeah, like, and there's a reason that he did so and kept coming back for the James Bond films. It's like, yeah, sure, those last couple, like, they probably threw more money at him and it helped, but like, at the end of the day, he loved playing James Bond. He loves that IP. There's a reason that he's like, he gave it his all. He is not just a James Bond actor. Like, no, he is an incredible actor.
He's a phenomenal actor.
And I love that he is like, you are the Netflix CEO and James Bond just told you your business is fucking shit.
Yeah, like, it's great. And hopefully more actors doing shit like that will start to make them go, maybe we should. And here's the thing. I'm completely okay with Netflix deciding, like, as a Netflix subscriber, I'm not going to demand money back if they decide to do a theatrical release first.
No. Like, Netflix was built off films that we'd all been and seen in the theatre years earlier, and they bought the rights to
send you a DVD out.
Yeah. Like, do you know what's wild though? And it could actually be something that's a bigger killer to Netflix. It's, you just need, and as much as I don't want these other platforms to get bigger because megacorps and all that, and as much as we always say we hate the fact that Amazon Prime is doing well with video because shitty company, but they're actually nailing it. If they just came along and said, "Oh yeah, we guarantee you theatrical releases," so many directors would go, "Oh, I'm not going to take Netflix money. I'll take this money because I get my film in a theater."
I mean, I didn't include it somewhere here, but there was a film recently that was like being put out for studios to bid on, and Netflix bid the most money, but they lost out on getting it because they wouldn't give a theatrical release.
Doesn't surprise me.
So they wanted a film, they wanted to be the producer of it, but they lost out on the opportunity to do that because they wouldn't give it a theatrical release. That tells you all you need to know.
I do think in the next 2 to 5 years, like, Netflix's model needs to change away from this, no theatrical releases, this cancelling shows after 2 seasons because they just fuck that show, don't give it a chance. Like, it's becoming a meme that don't ever expect a show on Netflix to finish because it'll just get cancelled after 2 seasons. Like,
Exactly.
when your platform and brand becomes known as that, you're in trouble. Because then
completely.
the new people, like the new producers, the new writers that have come along throughout the years, are going to go, well, I'll never go pitch to Netflix because my show will just get cancelled in 2 years. Like,
Exactly.
yeah, something needs to change. And maybe they do suddenly change their mind about this, but I don't think so.
I'm not holding my breath. Five Nights at Freddy's 2 has been given a release date of December 5th, 2025. I enjoyed the first film. It's a beloved IP on the internet. I think the first one did a really good job. I enjoyed it. It was fun. I look forward to the second one. There's not really much more to say at this point. I'm excited that the horror genre seems to be the only genre that is currently thriving in cinema because their budgets haven't got ridiculous and they can turn a profit still, so we're still getting more of them.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Spider-Man 2, the video game, not the film, comes to PC on January 30th. Insomniac have confirmed that there is no story DLC being planned at this time. This is likely due to the massive data breach they suffered 6 months to a year ago.
Oh, yeah.
When like early playtest of
Co-op
Wolverine and stuff got lost. So people saw some early workings of DLC at that point. But so much of it got leaked and rumoured that it's now pretty understood that it got scrapped. So we're now not getting any DLC for this game. It's probably all hackers' fault. Brilliant.
Yes, and I think also like there was stuff with like the co-op mode and multiplayer mode that got scrapped, got leaked, and then people were like, "Oh, the game would have been so much better at this," and like suddenly the press kind of turned a bit sour around it. So it's hard then for a board to give the okay on putting more money into it.
Exactly.
It's unfortunate.
No, I'm not sure if you would have seen this. It's a bit more comic-y news. Have you seen that they've launched a new DC universe of comics called the Absolute Universe?
I have not.
So it's a reimagining. It's kind of like the answer to Marvel's Ultimate Universe, where they take iconic characters and tweak around with how they're going to tell the story a little bit. So the first 3 that were announced were Absolute Superman, Absolute Batman, Absolute Wonder Woman.
Makes sense.
The big changes that people were talking about was like Absolute Batman isn't rich.
Oh.
He's a civil engineer.
Ooh.
He's yoked. His bat logo comes off his chest and is an axe.
Oh shit.
Like they're having some fucking fun with it. And it's been pretty well received as like getting out there and trying stuff.
Okay.
They've announced the next batch of lines they're starting.
Right.
So we've got Absolute Martian Manhunter, which is going to be like a cosmic entity entering John's body. And when it's trying to find a word inside his brain for what they should call him, it's a Martian. So it's not actually a Martian like it is in the main line. It's an entity that's the closest it can describe itself as a Martian. Really cool, funky art style of colour they've gone for the design as well.
Okay.
We've got Absolute Green Lantern, which I don't know too much about. Looks very interesting, though. And the one that's really intrigued me, Absolute Flash. Teenage Wally West. The Rogues have already been confirmed, and they look awesome. I'm not collecting any DC lines at the minute.
Ooh.
And that feels a bit wrong. I'm like, oh, I'm not supposed to play
very
favorites
weighted,
here. Yeah. And I'm looking at that and I'm like, oh, very interesting. But Absolute Universe has got off to a blast, and it's so funny right now because for the traditionally popular characters, not in general, mainline comics at the minute aren't doing that well, but these kind of fresh takes are doing really well. Like the Ultimate Spider-Man, where Peter Parker's already married with kids, and Ultimate Wolverine's been announced, and people are excited for that. And then you've got Absolute Batman and Absolute Superman, and
to be fair, even fun. I'm a bit like, oh, Absolute Batman sounds interesting.
You should go have a look. So the Batmobile got revealed at an event last week. It is a cement truck that has been retrofitted into a Batmobile. It looks fucking awesome. It's massive. Like the art style it's like the way they kind of described it is absolutely bonkers. Everything is balls to the wall.
I think I've seen the
Yeah.
cover picture of Batman in this,
Yeah.
like how yoked he is.
He's massive. Do you want to know what the terrifying thing is, though? Batman was born in 2004 in this universe.
Oh, shit. Also, it's not a cement mixer; it's a dump truck.
Yeah, sorry, dump truck, but it's fucking
But
massive.
it's one of those like quarry, like,
yes,
mega machine dump trucks looking things.
yeah, fucking awesome.
That
They're
does
having
exist.
fun.
Yeah, that does.
Let artists do cool shit. I love it so much. So if you're looking for an opportunity to get into comics and like you like some of these characters, but there's so much lore and you don't know where to start and you just want to watch the Flash run fast and you just want to watch Green Lantern do space cop shit, this might be the perfect time for you to go, right, there is no lore behind this. This is the beginning. Let me jump in and see what's going on.
Yeah.
We've got an official release date for Daredevil Born Again.
We do. Was it in New York Comic Con this last week
I think that was I think that's where it was announced, yeah. March 4th. We know. Let's set the countdown. We're not even 5 months away.
We've been waiting.
I'm so ready.
Same.
I'm so unbelievably
ready.
Like
we said earlier when we talked about Agatha, like if Disney has finally got their shit together with TV, this is 2 shows. Like Loki was great in season 2.
Mm-hmm.
We've now had Agatha, which is absolutely nailing it. Like this is high potential for Daredevil to be like.
And you've got to remember that this is going to come out like 3 or 4 weeks after Captain America: Brave New World.
Ooh.
Which has been said to have been inspired by one of my favorite MCU movie, Winter Soldier. Tonally, if they nail that and then go straight onto Daredevil, they're going to have me dancing around going, "We are so back." Really, really exciting. Really exciting.
Yeah.
More exciting Daredevil news.
Mm.
New Daredevil series called Cold Day in Hell, comic series, has been announced. It is similar vibe and inspiration to the Old Man Logan comics.
Okay.
The story centered around an old Matt Murdock who is now powerless and no longer Daredevil, but is still very much the man without fear.
Interesting. I love the title of the series being a Cold Day in Hell.
Yeah.
I wonder,
there's a story there.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
There's got to be someone who's trained or something. Like, there's got to be. Surely he's got some help.
I assume it's going to be kind of a little bit like Dark Knight Rises by Frank Miller, where he's kind of like retired and he's beat to shit and he can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
But even though it's like literally, like even though it was a suicide mission when he was young and fit, it's now actually a suicide mission. I assume that's going to be the arc. But it's cool. It's going to sell like mad. Maybe it's one that I end up copying the volume of when the miniseries is done. Being a self-contained story like that, that's the kind of thing that I'll get a little mini-series of when it's done. And then getting on something that we both got very hyped for the second it got announced.
Yes.
Creature Commandos trailer.
Yeah, we had a teaser, hadn't we, previously, and now it's like the first proper...
I like the art style.
Yeah, and the kind of the fun they had with the trailer and the art and stuff, definitely. It looks good. I loved just how they sort of introduced all the characters.
We're starting to get a vibe of the DCU. Mm-hmm. James Gunn's made it very clear he doesn't expect everything to fall in like the same vibe. He's not said it in this many words, but what he means is you don't want to have to watch something and go, oh, that's the DCU, like you do with the MCU. He wants the universe to be connected, but you can have different genres inside that universe, which is, I think, the point we've got to with superhero films, which is good. So we're not going to get everything from the DCU here, but we start to get a bit of the picture. We've been so in the dark about all this for so long that now that it's starting to be revealed, it's starting to get a bit real and very exciting.
It is.
Starts on December 5th.
Something like that, yeah.
We have no guarantee of where we're going to be able to watch it in the UK yet. The expectation is still that Sky Atlantic's going to be your best bet.
Yeah. I mean, on the trailer it says on Max. which obviously is different to like Penguin and stuff, which has been HBO.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess we have to wait and see. Now TV or Sky, potentially.
Yeah, the problem is it's 6 weeks away from launch, and they've not confirmed where we can watch it anywhere yet. I am keeping a very close eye out for it, but we might have to sail some seas. Like the COD players today have taken a plane round to New Zealand. We might go for a bit of fishing.
I
if you
might
know what I mean.
go move to New York briefly.
Yeah. I'm very excited for it though. I think it's going to be cool. It's going to be fun to get our first taste of the DCU.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of my favourite comic book movies is James Gunn's Suicide Squad.
Yes.
This is written by James Gunn, and although it's not the Suicide Squad, it's part of the same program as explained in the trailer. Oh, Congress has said we're not allowed to use humans, so we should go use monsters instead. It's the exact same idea.
About creatures.
Exactly. It's the exact same idea, but it's just monsters instead.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited. It's nice to be excited for DC projects again.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
And on that same vein, Supergirl is due to start filming in the UK in January, according to Discussing Film. So I think the understanding with the way DC are going to operate going forward is that basically all of their films are going to be shot in the UK at Leavesden Studios.
Okay.
Because that is a Warner Brothers Studios.
Yeah.
So it's much easier for them. But I think part of it was about the consistency of the same location, because they can kind of go, right, this is our soundstage year round, no matter what we're doing it here. And that should, like, just talking to someone who lives in the UK and pretty close to that area, that should generate some jobs and stuff in the area as well, which will be good for the local economy, which is nice. And then if the films can be good as well, I'm very quickly going to become a fan of DC. So
I think, it's one of those where the consistency will definitely help for things such as like Superman and Supergirl, where there is very clearly going to be similar visual look to it.
Yeah.
They're going to be closely associated. I'm sure they'll have some characters and films that will feel a bit different. Might still be shot in the UK, but they'll like... And also, this doesn't mean they're not going to go to locations elsewhere around the world for different films.
Exactly. Shooting on location is still a thing. It's just anything that's going to be done inside a safe place is going to be there. Fallout Season 2 is due to start filming in a couple of weeks in November, according to Screen Rant.
Excited for that. I mean,
we were both blown away by how good Season 1 was.
They smashed it with Season 1, so...
We were very excited when they announced that Season 2 had been greenlit. So let's rock and roll.
Yeah, for sure.
Run it. They clearly have a bit of an idea of where they want to go with the overall story. They left us on a little bit of a cliffhanger. And hopefully, now that Season 1 was such a success and even won an Emmy, granted, I don't think it was one of the big ones, but it was an Emmy nonetheless.
They got recognised.
Exactly. Hopefully, it might be one of the cases now where like we'll see with like Vox Machina, where the next season gets confirmed as happening before the current season's finished.
It wouldn't surprise me if Season 2 it's literally like as Season 2 is about to come out, they're like, oh yeah, by the way, we've already confirmed Season 3. Like,
and we know Amazon, again, for all of their evil bullshit, and they will burn in hell for that shit, do not get me wrong. The one thing they are good at is not doing what Netflix do of just throwing shit away that people love. Like Jack Reacher, one of my favourite shows. Season 4's been confirmed. Season 3's not even out yet.
Yeah.
I know that I can tune into Season 3 without worrying about whether I will get another season after that.
Whoever's in charge of the Prime Video subsection of Amazon, like, they are doing actually a solid job with it.
But we can't let them get too big, because then they'll start being scummy. They need to stay like the third most popular streaming service, so they keep pretending to be the good guys. Now, this is really funny. So, for anyone who doesn't know, a little peek behind the curtain here. I put together all the news, and then I send the list over to Horry. So if there's anything I've missed, he can add it, and so that he knows what we're going to be discussing. The next point on this is secret question for Horry.
I didn't even see this at first till like I reread through them earlier when I saw it, like re-going over my notes, and I was like, hang on a second, what? And it's like, this is in the news, so either I'm just gonna go where my brain's either gonna be like, this is gonna be some wild question that you want my take on, or
And I've just hidden it in the news to
yeah,
catch you off guard.
or this is like something that is in my area that you want my opinion on.
Oh no, you're
Okay.
completely off. It's hilarious.
Oh.
So we have discussed before how my brain works and makes massive jumps and leaps.
Mm-hmm.
So I was scrolling through various news sources to work out what needed to make the news, and I saw a bit of marketing that was going on that I thought was quite funny, and it's become more
Okay.
popular recently. And it is Hot Ones doing an episode with Peter Griffin,
Okay.
which is really cool. I like that; it's funny,
Mm-hmm.
and it made me think. You can buy the Hot Ones hot sauces.
Mm-hmm.
We can cook chicken nuggets.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be interested? I'm putting you on the spot here, which is why I didn't tell you. In us doing 2 weeks where we do a segment each, where one of us gets to ask the other one questions while they do hot sauces.
I mean, I like spicy stuff. Spicy
You know,
stuff.
I
So
like spicy stuff as well. I think some of the hot ones we're both going to regret. But if we were to do that as like the last segment of the show, because it has to be the last segment, I know we can probably both handle stuff okay. The top end are going to punish us. Do that as the last segment, and we get to ask some fun questions. We get hot takes, pardon the pun. We get to ask questions that we don't think the other one would normally answer. I think it'd be a fun thing to do.
I'm down to do like, I don't know, even just have a section, do the news, do then a section of, I don't know, we each ask each other questions
Yeah.
based on topics that are relevant, and we do hot ones. Like, I'm not against hot ones. I have done some stupidly hot sauces before, and
Tell you what,
I
about
my
5 years ago, I was really bad with heat. But we started like it's so fucking. We started doing HelloFresh, and HelloFresh doesn't have a lot of hot food, but it
mm,
has some spice to it, which
mhm.
just brought my floor up quite a lot to the point where I was like, "Well, it needs to be spicy now because I like spice." So I've just like over the last 5-6 years, I've just slowly edged it up to the point where now my floor is pretty good,
I would
and it seems
say
fun.
I'd
Plus,
say
it'll be
my
funny as hell.
floor has definitely dropped over the last 4 years a little bit because I just haven't. There was a period where I was like constantly having like really spicy stuff, especially some Thai food when I was like back in like when I was working in a kitchen. That stuff was, oh, like homemade Thai takeaway. Like that shit can get hot. But I have this thing, and it started when like this is a long time ago. We're talking like when I was 16, I went to Mexico for a holiday.
Christ, before YouTube.
Yeah, okay. I remember YouTube back when it had the 5 stars rating system and the old UI style, and where you could have a background on your channel. Oh, that's a throwback. But yeah, when I went to Mexico, it became a challenge between me and my dad because they at Mexican restaurants they'll put out two like breadsticks or tortilla like stuff to dip and two dips. One was always spicier than the other. I would go in blind every time. Some of them, if you went to like a smaller little restaurant, the smaller like some of those were hot. not for tourists.
It
But
would
that
it would just be fun.
brought my floor up and I'm down.
Yeah, I
I
think
will it'd be really
say
fun. On the hot ones thing, I don't know how I feel about the animated episodes.
I don't think they do full length episodes of the animated characters. They end up being like
No.
shorter ones. I assume just because of the effort to animate it. I think when like Hot Ones is completely like a PR. And I've got to say, I like this
Yeah.
new genre of PR where it's not all just like late night talk shows, and you have
Yeah.
like the chicken shop dates and the hot ones. I think it's fun. It's more engaging. I think it's got to be a case of how you feel about the character. Family Guy is absolutely my comfort show.
Yeah.
So I haven't watched it yet, but Peter doing hot wings sounds funny to me.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's just I don't know. Maybe if it makes I think it finally like you say, Hot Ones is a PR. It is an marketing thing. They get guests on, they can promote their newest thing, and it's like a sort of interview style, but a bit of fun with it. It's hidden. There's like
Let's be careful just in case they ever want to invite us.
no, I don't think they would. It's the same as like you say, like chicken shop dates. There's other things that do similar stuff.
Yeah. I think it's some of the best questions. Like I forget the Sean. Are some of the best questions in the fucking bits.
He gives me. I don't know if do you know who Nardwar is?
Yes, I fucking love Nardwar.
Like Nardwar will have like CIA level. Like he has multiple hip hop artists who have accused him of being a cop because he just knows too much, which valid. But like it's that level of thing. Like their research team that Sean has for Hot Ones, obviously, like they get into some nitty gritty stuff. Great. I think my issue with the animated characters because they've had Donald Duck on, they've had someone out. There was another one they did.
I think so. Yeah.
I think it kind of crosses the line where I'm like, oh, this is just straight up like a marketing thing. Yeah, this is just a straight up marketing thing. Like it's almost kind of got past the blurred lines, and I'm like, ah.
How would you feel if the way they'd done the Family Guy one instead was Seth MacFarlane, but he just committed to doing voices of characters for each one? So the first wing, it's Seth MacFarlane, and they just animate Peter Griffin over him, and then he does Stewie, and they animate Stewie, and then he does Quagmire, and they would that have sold you on it a bit more?
Maybe, I don't know. I just think it's this. I don't hate them. Like, I watched the documentary. I think it's the fact that Hot Ones has got to that point. I think it's doing something very unique that no one's done before, and I'm not against it in that sense. I think it just finally kind of. I'm like, oh, this is just.
You've just become a little bit too aware that it's marketing.
Yeah,
I get that.
But
cool. So, 100,000 likes, and we will down a bottle of hot sauce. Adam Blevins of Collider has reported that Avengers Doomsday will start filming in spring 2025.
Okay.
So not far off at all.
When's that meant to come out? Is it 26?
Yes.
Okay. That should be enough time.
It should
be.
Hollywood Reporter suggests, and it's actually now been confirmed, that Tom Holland has joined Matt Damon in the cast of Christopher Nolan's next film. The film is reportedly a 1920s period piece about vampires.
Ooh, that's going to create a lot of fan fiction if Tom Holland's a vampire.
Doom 3 is now not going to start filming until 2026, according to the Hollywood Reporter.
Okay.
This, I don't know if it's because of or a happy accident, but this now means that the cinematographer behind Dune and the Batman, who is the same person, is going to be able to do both films. Because previously, the Batman Part 2 and Dune 3 were both going to film next year.
I see.
Now the Batman's filming next year and Dune Part 3 is waiting till 2026.
I see.
I don't know if it was them like coming to an agreement between themselves because they're both Warner Brothers, or if we've just got really lucky. But hallelujah.
Probably a bit
Protect
of both.
the source.
Probably a bit of like, oh, we could do it to delay a little bit, but if we delay a little bit longer, we can also have so and so.
Yeah.
There's not a conflict of scheduling. So then they're like, okay, cool.
Up next, Blade has been removed from Disney/Marvel's slate and no longer has a release date. So, before I get into my rant and my feelings, I'm going to say one thing that hasn't dawned on you yet, but when it does, you're going to crack up. Right now, we have Tom Holland, who is Spider-Man, working alongside Matt Damon in a Christopher Nolan film. Christopher Nolan, who made the Batman films. Making a vampire film set in the 1920s. Also, we have Michael B. Jordan, who played Killmonger, and Ryan Coogler, who made both the Black Panther films, making a period piece about vampires. Yet Marvel have, I would argue, outside of fucking Dracula, the most famous vampire IP with Mahershala Ali, a phenomenally talented actor. And they cannot get this film on its fucking legs. Like, the irony of that is fucking hilarious.
Do you know?
At this point, they should wait for them two films to come out and just make the same film.
Yeah, like, the wild thing is, let's be honest, there has been... Can you think of a vampire film anytime recently other than
the last like big budget vampire film I can think of is Twilight.
Yeah. Like,
there will have been others, don't get me wrong, but obviously we've got Nosferatu coming out this year.
But like, how that, like, there's been a gap where there's been like no vampire stuff, and then Marvel's taking so long to get their shit together that we're now going to have two pretty blockbuster level vampire films come along before they could even figure it out.
Let's be clear here. I said this to Horry when I saw the news. I am now convinced Mahershala Ali is never going to play Blade in the MCU. Because
he was going to walk away already at one point because they couldn't figure the script out. How is he, like, how are they going to persuade him to say when he's being told, oh yeah, we don't actually even know where you're going to get a date, let alone if we've got a script we're happy with?
So let's be clear here. Like, let's be crystal fucking clear. He was announced as Blade in 2019 when he was 45 years old.
He's going to be 50 now.
He's now 50. We have been given 3 new dates that a Marvel film is coming out in 2028, and Blade is not attached to any of them. Which means, logically, the earliest Blade is coming out is 2029. By which point, Mahershala Ali is 55. We've discussed Hollywood magic before. Once you get to 55, even though you're going to look great for your age, you can't keep being an action film hero forever. And Blade is not a character that we can throw to the wayside really quickly. He's too important.
You don't even need to look at it. Like, it's as simple as, if it's going to be another 5 years, he's just going to walk away from, like, he's not going to stick around for the project. Like, he's already threatened to leave the project, and then they sort of got this act together a bit with the script and kind of persuaded him. If they're now going to turn around and it's like, oh yeah, your project's been shelved, we sort of are and aren't happy with the script, we'll let you know, he's just going to go, yeah, you can find a different Blade.
Yeah.
The wild thing is, Deadpool and Wolverine was meant to be a joke about there's only one Blade, but that is the only Blade we are going to have, it seems. My little bit of copium is this is Marvel gaslighting us all.
Well, I will add to that copium for you. Apparently, Midnight Suns is being fast-tracked. So
you think it's getting changed to a Midnight Suns?
My copium is they're going to go Midnight Suns first.
Then Blade.
Then Blade is going to be completely reworked to come after Midnight Suns. Which is riskier because you're going to have to do more character introduction and stuff in Midnight Suns. But if that's the only way to get it to work, because Blade needs that much more work, maybe that's why they need to do it.
Or they just... Because they have Kit Harington's character, right? That we presume would get pulled into Midnight Suns.
That was the assumption. You assume Doctor Strange is involved as well.
Yeah.
And Ghost Rider was the other name that was floating around a lot as a potential lineup.
So I'm okay. Like, if this is like the copium movie, if this is them throwing us off, and it's actually we're going to get Blade in Midnight Suns, well, I'm okay with that. Like, obviously, as long as it's well made. But yeah, there's a part of me that's just like, there's so much discussion constantly around like when projects are, that we've seen it multiple times where we thought a project was dead, but actually they were secretly working on it and it's now coming out at some so-and-so date. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if they're saying it's shelved to the leaks, knowing that it's going to go out there, but actually they're already started filming and they're quietly working away on it. Like, wouldn't surprise me.
But I am fully in the camp now of like, because I can't give it any more copium because I care about this project too much. I've now decided that I'm never going to get to see Mahershala Ali as Blade,
Fair.
which sucks because that is one of the like off rip. That is the most excited I've been for a casting. Because before that, all of the good castings of the MCU was before I really cared. That was the first casting that I was already a mega fan for. That I was like, that kicks ass an unbelievable amount. I cannot wait. And now,
yeah,
nothing. Diabolical. But good news.
Yes.
Vox Machina season 4 has been confirmed.
We briefly mentioned it earlier when we were
It's
talking
going to
about
be
the
all
episodes,
about Percy and how brilliant Percy's life is. Right, Hori?
If I know where this season's going, I have an idea of where next season begins. Which will be interesting. I mean, they went in like, I think Travis did an interview like around the start of this season, and he was saying like, obviously, as long as people want, like, if people want more, go watch it. Like, we love him making this. Like, it wasn't confirmed at that point. I would imagine we know how this works. Like, they'll have been in talks, and it will have been like if this does a like base level viewership, that it's not like absolutely drops off the face of the earth. Like, you'll be getting another season. I think they'll have smashed that, no problem. Like, I'm more excited for. We know they're working on Mighty Nine. Like, is this going to get to a point where we're going to have like 1 year's Mighty Nine, then it's Vox Machina, then it's Mighty
Every
Nine?
6 months, baby. Every 6 months.
If they can
fuck yearly waits every 6 months.
Well, yeah. But if they can get into that, that'd be sick. I would love. So this is like a bit of a sidetrack. I had been at the beginning of this campaign 3, been following along as best. Like, I fell off. I can't remember what episode now, but like, it's been a while. So I'm like, I see stuff on my Twitter and on my TikTok, and I kind of get what you would class as spoilers, but I don't really mind. It's like I get updates on where things are. Not really a spoiler, but they're literally this last week. They have their current group. It's called Bell Cells. They are, I don't know why, they are teaming up with another group of heroes, the Mighty Nine.
Oh, okay.
And this last week, they had the fun interaction of this other group, the Mighty Nine, arriving to meet the Bell's Hells. And they all had to play 2 characters, except for Robbie, who's new for campaign 3. So he's sat there watching them all have to like constantly be flipping between characters. Pure chaos. Pure chaos. You've got so much happening. It's amazing. And watching them all like flip characters and the other people, they're like trying to remember, okay, I need to like change my accent or change my personality. And Matt's just sat there like, this is the most fun. I have never had to do anything, and I just sit here and watch.
The Legends of Vox Machina have firmly convinced me. If I was given a Jeff Bezos bucket of money and told that I just had to spend it on art, that I would absolutely try and acquire the rights to Fantasy High and get that shit animated.
Oh.
I'd make 2 seasons of TV out of each season. So it'd be 6 seasons for the 3 seasons they've currently done.
Put it this way.
And I would have every little inside joke.
I would be surprised if the guy like Travis knows a Critical Role. They're friends with the guys at Dropout, with Brennan and that. I'm shocked if they haven't said, here's our Amazon contact. If you ever want to pitch a animated show, this is who we talk to. This is like, they'll be open to it. Like, surely they've helped open that door a little bit.
I would. Counterpoint. Brennan Lee Mulligan. I feel like he would rather die than work with Jeff Bezos.
Counterpoint. Brennan Lee Mulligan given the chance to have a show on Amazon Prime that constantly rips capitalism in their face, and every big bad is capitalism, he would revel in that.
Do you know how much I would give to see a really high quality animated scene like the one in the ice cream shop with the little dude who's the postman. He's like, you see, the thing about rules is they're just a threat of violence from the oppressive force. Like anything, I need it. That show would change lives. Anyway, that is it from us this week. We'll be back next week with the conclusion of Legends of Vox Machina, the conclusion of Agatha All Along, a review of Venom: The Last Dance, the first episode of Spider-Man, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, and
Penguin.
episode 6 of Penguin. More chaos. The chaos reigns forever and ever and a million years. Have a lovely week, and we'll see you next time.
See you next week.